Beneath the calm surface of the ocean or the endless stretch of desert sands, entire worlds wait in silence, lost civilizations swallowed by time, their stories buried under layers of water and earth. Picture walking along a coastline, your feet sinking into the sand, completely unaware that just below you lies the remnants of a bustling ancient city, its streets once alive with merchants, temples, and voices now silenced for centuries. This isn't just the stuff of legends or Hollywood fantasies, it's real. Across the globe, nature has claimed countless landscapes, erasing them from maps but not from history. Today, we're diving into 20 of these extraordinary places, each with a tale that blurs the line between myth and reality. What forces could wipe a city off the face of the earth? Sometimes it's the relentless rise of the sea, creeping higher until homes become reefs and towers sink into the abyss. Other times, it's the slow march of desert sands, burying temples under dunes so vast that even memory fades. And then there are the sudden catastrophes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, or floods that rewrite geography in a single, violent chapter. These lost landscapes aren't just rubble, they're time capsules, preserving secrets about the people who built them, the cultures that thrived there, and the moments everything changed. Archaeologists and historians piece together these puzzles, but some mysteries refuse to be solved, leaving us to wonder what truths still lie hidden. This journey isn't just about ruins, it's about rediscovery. Every crumbling wall or artifact pulled from the mud is a thread connecting us to the past, reminding us how fragile human achievement can be. As we explore these 20 ancient landscapes, you'll hear tales of legendary cities like Atlantis, though not the one you've imagined, and lesser-known sites that vanished without a trace. You'll see how nature's power humbles even the greatest civilizations, and how modern technology is finally bringing these lost worlds back to light. By the end, you'll never look at a stretch of water or a windswept plain the same way again, because who knows what forgotten stories might be waiting just beneath the surface. The story of Atlantis begins not with an archaeologist's shovel or a diver's discovery, but with ink on ancient parchment. Over 2,000 years ago, the philosopher Plato first described this fabled city in his dialogues, painting a picture of an island kingdom brimming with wealth, power, and technological marvels until it vanished beneath the waves in a night of fire and flood. What makes Atlantis so compelling isn't just its dramatic demise, but the haunting question Plato left behind. Was this a real place swallowed by the sea, or a parable about civilizations that grow too proud? The debate has raged for centuries, with some scholars pointing to the catastrophic eruption of Thera, modern-day Santorini, around 1600 BCE. This volcanic explosion was so immense it may have inspired legends across the Mediterranean, toppling the sophisticated Minoan civilization and leaving behind layers of ash and ruin. Yet others argue Atlantis lies farther west, pointing to strange underwater formations near the Bahamas or the Azores, where sonar has revealed what some claim are man-made walls and roads submerged for millennia. The truth is, every generation reimagines Atlantis through the lens of its own discoveries. In the 19th century, enthusiasts linked it to the newly understood ruins of Troy. Today, some speculate it could be a distorted memory of a Bronze Age trading hub, its true location erased by rising seas at the end of the last ice age. What unites all these theories is the undeniable pull of Atlantis as a symbol of human ingenuity, of nature's power, and of the fragile line between history and myth. Modern technology has brought us closer than ever to solving the mystery. Satellite imaging and underwater drones scan the ocean floor, revealing sunken landscapes we never knew existed. But perhaps Atlantis was never meant to be found. Plato's tale, after all, ends with a warning. Even the greatest cities can fall when they forget their place in the world. Whether real or imagined, Atlantis reminds us that the sea keeps its secrets well, and that some stories, buried beneath waves or sand, are destined to linger at the edge of our understanding, just out of reach. Off the coast of Gujarat in western India, the Arabian Sea hides one of history's most tantalizing underwater mysteries, the lost city of Dwarka. According to ancient Hindu texts, this was no ordinary settlement but a magnificent metropolis built by Lord Krishna himself, adorned with gold and precious stones, its streets bustling with divine energy. The Mahabharata, an epic thousands of years old, describes Dwarka's dramatic fate. As Krishna left the earthly realm, the sea swallowed the city whole, as if the waves themselves were reclaiming what belonged to the gods. But is this just a poetic legend, or could there be truth buried beneath the silt and salt water? Marine archaeologists diving near present-day Dwarka have uncovered something extraordinary: massive stone walls, pottery shards, and even ancient anchors scattered across the seabed, some dating back an astonishing 9,000 years. These aren't random fragments, they form a grid-like pattern suggesting planned streets and buildings, a layout consistent with the descriptions in sacred texts. One particularly striking discovery is a stone structure with intricate carvings, eerily similar to temples dedicated to Krishna. The artifacts tell a story of a thriving port city, one that traded with distant civilizations before vanishing beneath the waves. Geologists offer a less mystical but equally fascinating explanation. At the end of the last ice age, around 7,000 years ago, melting glaciers caused sea levels to rise dramatically, flooding coastal settlements worldwide. Dwarka, likely built on low-lying land, would have been no match for the encroaching tides. Yet the timing raises another question. Could the legend of Krishna's departure be a metaphorical retelling of this catastrophic event, blending history and divinity into a single narrative? The overlap of myth and science here is uncanny, making Dwarka a rare case where faith and archaeology seem to point in the same direction. Today, the search for Dwarka's secrets continues. Advanced sonar mapping has revealed even larger structures farther offshore, hinting that what we've found so far might just be the outskirts of a much grander city. But the Arabian Sea is reluctant to give up its treasures. Strong currents and shifting sands make excavation a challenge. Every artifact recovered feels like a whisper from the past, a clue to understanding how a city celebrated in hymns and scriptures might have actually looked, thrived, and finally succumbed to the ocean. Whether you see Dwarka as a spiritual symbol or a historical puzzle, its legacy endures, a reminder that some of humanity's greatest stories are still waiting, half buried in the quiet depths of the sea. Along the southeastern coast of India, where the Bay of Bengal meets the shore, lies a mystery as intricate as the stone carvings that peek from beneath the waves. The shore temple of Mahabalapuram stands alone today, but ancient sailors once spoke of 6 more, a glittering row of temples known as the 7 Pagodas, their towering spires reflecting sunlight so brightly they served as a beacon for ships. For centuries, locals passed down stories of a great flood that swallowed most of these sacred structures, leaving just one as a haunting reminder of what was lost. Then, in 2004, something extraordinary happened. When the Indian Ocean tsunami pulled back its waters briefly, eyewitnesses reported seeing rows of stone pillars and sculptures emerge from the sea, as if the ocean itself had decided to reveal a fragment of its secrets. Marine archaeologists rushed to investigate, and what they found underwater was nothing short of breathtaking. Submerged just a few hundred meters offshore lay elaborate lion statues, half-buried temple gateways, and massive stone blocks arranged in perfect geometric patterns, all covered in thick layers of coral but unmistakably man-made. The most striking discovery, a sprawling, rectangular structure with steps leading to what was likely a ceremonial platform, its edges adorned with carvings of deities and mythical creatures. These weren't random fragments. They formed a coherent architectural plan, mirroring the style of the surviving shore temple. Carbon dating of nearby artifacts suggests these ruins could be over 1,200 years old, placing their construction during the reign of the Pallava dynasty, a golden age of South Indian art and culture. But how did such a grand complex vanish beneath the waves? Geological studies point to a catastrophic tsunami in the 13th century, possibly triggered by an earthquake near Sumatra. Historical records from Arab and European traders describe a towering wave that devastated this coastline, flattening ports and dragging entire settlements into the sea. The Temples of Mahabalapuram, built perilously close to the shore as a display of the Pallava's mastery over nature, may have stood no chance. Yet there's a twist. Some researchers argue the sinking was gradual. Soil samples reveal evidence of rising sea levels over centuries, slowly encroaching on the city until a final, violent surge finished the job. What makes these ruins so significant isn't just their tragic fate, but what they tell us about the people who built them. The carvings depict scenes from Hindu epics, but also everyday life: dancers, merchants, even foreign traders with distinctly non-Indian features, proof of Mahabalapuram's role as a bustling international port. One recovered slab shows a detailed map of the coastline, complete with sailing routes, suggesting the Pallavas had an advanced understanding of navigation. And then there's the lingering question: if 6 temples are underwater, could there be more? Sonar scans have detected larger anomalies deeper offshore, hinting at an even grander city now buried under silt. The shore temple, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, feels like a sentinel guarding the past. At low tide, if you wade into the shallows, your fingers might brush against stone grooves worn smooth by centuries of waves, grooves that continue seamlessly from the temple on land to the ruins below. It's a visceral reminder that history isn't always confined to textbooks or dry land. Sometimes it's hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to resurface. As climate change accelerates coastal erosion, archaeologists race against time to document these fragile remnants. Each recovered artifact is a puzzle piece, helping us reconstruct not just a lost city, but the lives, beliefs, and ambitions of those who walked its streets until the ocean claimed them for its own. Beneath the turquoise waters near Japan's Yonaguni Island, a massive stone structure rises from the ocean floor like a phantom from another time, with its terraced walls, sharp right angles, and what appear to be staircases carved into the rock. The Yonaguni Monument doesn't just defy explanation, it dares us to reconsider everything we know about ancient civilizations. Discovered by a local diver in 1986, this enigmatic formation stretches over 200 feet long and 80 feet tall, its surfaces worn smooth by centuries of currents. At first glance, it's easy to see why some researchers insist this is the work of human hands. The sheer symmetry of the tiers, the perfectly straight roads that seem to connect different levels, and even what looks like a ceremonial platform with carved niches all suggest intentional design. But the ocean has a way of playing tricks on the eye. Geologists point to the region's unique sandstone, which naturally fractures along straight lines due to tectonic activity. Over millennia, the relentless push and pull of waves could have sculpted these blocks into stair-like formations, creating the illusion of architecture. They argue that similar shapes appear in other underwater rock formations worldwide, no human intervention required. Yet there's a twist. Nestled among the rocks, divers have uncovered tools and pottery fragments dating back at least 2,000 years. Could these artifacts be clues to a culture that once thrived here when sea levels were lower, or were they simply lost by fishermen over the centuries? The debate takes an even stranger turn when you consider local legends. The Ryukyu people, indigenous to these islands, speak of a sunken kingdom called Mu or Lemuria, an advanced society swallowed by the sea in a cataclysmic event. Some theorists link Yonaguni to these myths, suggesting the monument might be a remnant of that lost world. Others propose a more grounded theory, that it served as a quarry or ceremonial site for the ancient Jomon people, who inhabited Japan as far back as 14,000 years ago. During the last ice age, Yonaguni would have been part of a vast coastal plain, making it plausible that humans could have shaped the rocks before rising waters concealed them. What makes Yonaguni so mesmerizing isn't just the unanswered questions, it's the emotional weight of standing on the edge of discovery. Dive down to the monument and you'll feel it, the uncanny sensation that you're floating through the ruins of something deliberate, something meaningful. Marine biologists note that the structure has become an accidental sanctuary, its crevices teeming with sea life, as if nature has woven new purpose into its stones. Meanwhile, sonar scans reveal more anomalies nearby, hinting that the visible monument might be just one piece of a larger, hidden puzzle. Whether Yonaguni is a geological marvel or a forgotten chapter of human history, it forces us to confront how little we truly know about our planet's past. The Pacific, with its vast, uncharted depths, guards its secrets fiercely. Every expedition to the monument yields new data and new disagreements. Perhaps that's the point. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved quickly. They're meant to linger, to inspire us to keep exploring, to remind us that the boundary between myth and history is often as fluid as the sea itself. Off the rugged coast of Cornwall, where the Atlantic crashes against cliffs older than memory, whispers linger of a kingdom swallowed by the sea. Lyonesse, a land of golden fields, towering castles, and a thriving people vanished in a single storm-lashed night, or so the legends say. In medieval tales, it was the tragic home of Tristan, the doomed hero of Arthurian romance, a place so lush it was said to have 7 times more churches than Cornwall itself. But could such a rich, vibrant land have truly existed, or is Lyonesse merely a poetic metaphor for the relentless power of nature? The clues lie scattered across the ocean floor near the Scilly Isles, a cluster of tiny islands 28 miles southwest of Cornwall. Here, fishermen have long hauled up stones with strange, tool-like markings in their nets, while divers report spotting what look like ancient field walls beneath the waves. Even more compelling are the submerged forest stumps of oak and hazel still rooted in peat, their trunks preserved by saltwater for thousands of years. These ghostly remnants, visible at low tide, tell a story of a time when the Scillies weren't islands at all, but part of a vast, connected plain stretching all the way to mainland Britain. Geologists confirm that around 4,000 years ago, rising sea levels flooded this low-lying land, turning hills into islands and valleys into seabed. Yet Lyonesse's legend adds a layer of human drama to this natural process. Local folklore describes church bells ringing eerily beneath the waves, a haunting echo of the drowned civilization. Some versions of the tale blame the catastrophe on divine punishment, a king's arrogance or a people's sins, while others speak of a great storm surge, a disaster so sudden that villagers barely had time to flee. Historians note striking parallels to real events. The the catastrophic tsunami that struck the English Channel in 6100 BCE, or the gradual flooding that reshaped Europe's coastlines as glaciers melted. Could Lyonesse be a collective memory of these traumatic changes, passed down through generations until fact blurred into myth? What makes Lyonesse so captivating isn't just the question of its existence, but how deeply it's woven into Cornwall's identity. Even today, fishermen avoid certain areas they believe are cursed by the Lost Kingdom, and artists reinterpret its tragedy in paintings and songs. The story resonates because it touches on a universal fear, the fragility of home. Lyonesse may never be definitively proven, but its power lies in that ambiguity, the way it straddles the line between geological record and human imagination. Whether a real sunken world or a symbolic warning, it reminds us that the landscapes we take for granted are never as permanent as they seem. Pompeii wasn't just buried, it was suspended in time. Unlike cities swallowed by gradual floods or shifting sands, this Roman metropolis met its fate in a single, catastrophic day. Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD with such fury that a swirling cloud of superheated ash and gas raced down its slopes at nearly 100 miles per hour, engulfing Pompeii in minutes. The result, a city preserved with almost eerie precision, its streets, homes, and even the expressions on its victims' faces frozen for nearly 2,000 years. Walking through Pompeii today feels less like exploring ruins and more like stepping into a photograph, one where the edges are charred, but the details remain startlingly vivid. What makes Pompeii extraordinary isn't just the scale of destruction, but the intimacy of what survived. Frescoes still glow with vibrant pigments, their scenes of banquets and gods untouched by time. Graffiti scrawled on walls ranges from political slogans to playful insults, revealing voices that feel startlingly modern. Bakeries hold loaves of bread carbonized in their ovens, while jewelry and coins lie scattered where they were dropped in panic. Then there are the haunting plaster casts of victims, their bodies encased in ash that hardened around them, leaving voids archaeologists later filled with liquid plaster. These figures capture final moments with heartbreaking clarity. A child curled beside a parent, a man shielding his face, a dog still tethered to its post. But Pompeii's tragedy offers an unexpected gift to history. Because the ash sealed the city so completely, it locked in details rarely preserved elsewhere. Sewer systems, tavern menus, even garden fences stand exactly as they were, offering a blueprint of everyday Roman life. We know what Pompeians ate: garlic, fish sauce, and dormice considered delicacies. We know how they relaxed dice games and public baths were obsessions. And we know their fears charms against the evil eye hung in doorways, a reminder that even in a bustling city, superstition lingered. The question isn't just what we've found in Pompeii, but what might still lie hidden beneath other volcanoes. Vesuvius is far from unique. Mexico's Popocatépetl has buried villages under layers of pumice, while Indonesia's Tambora erased an entire culture in 1815. Then there's Santorini, whose eruption 3,600 years ago may have inspired the Atlantis legend. Unlike floods or earthquakes, volcanic ash preserves as it destroys, creating time capsules that could rewrite history. Recent LiDAR scans around Vesuvius reveal possible undiscovered villas under 20 feet of hardened ash, hinting that Pompeii might have neighboring cities still waiting to tell their stories. Pompeii's legacy is a paradox: a city destroyed so completely that it became immortal. Its ruins remind us that disaster can be an accidental archaeologist, sealing moments in perfect detail. But they also pose a chilling question: how many other Pompeiis lie forgotten under the world's restless volcanoes, their stories preserved but not yet uncovered? Every time Vesuvius rumbles, it's a reminder that the past isn't always buried gently. Sometimes it's sealed in fire and ash, waiting for the right moment to speak again. For centuries, the Egyptian city of Heracleion existed only in whispers, a place mentioned in ancient texts and temple inscriptions, described as a bustling port where Greek merchants rubbed shoulders with Egyptian priests, where gold-laden ships docked beneath towering statues of gods. Then, around the 8th century AD, it vanished without a trace, sinking into legend until 2000, when a French archaeologist named Franck Gaudiot made one of the most stunning underwater discoveries of our time. Off the coast of modern-day Alexandria, beneath layers of silt and 10 feet of water, lay an entire city frozen in time. Colossal statues of pharaohs stood eerily intact, their faces still staring toward the surface as if waiting for the sea to release them. Stone slabs inscribed in Greek and hieroglyphics lay half-buried, their decrees untouched for over a millennium. And then there were the ships, dozens of them, their hulls preserved in the thick clay of the seafloor, some still laden with coins, jewelry, and even bags of spices from distant lands. So what doomed this vital gateway between Egypt and the Mediterranean? The answer lies in the very ground Heracleion was built upon. Unlike sturdy desert foundations, the Nile Delta is a shifting puzzle of silt and sand, a landscape constantly reshaped by the river's flow. Archaeologists now believe the city was a victim of its own geography, constructed too close to unstable sediment, its grand temples and harbors slowly sinking as earthquakes liquefied the ground beneath them. A series of natural disasters may have delivered the final blow. Records from the time mention a catastrophic tsunami in 796 AD, one that could have submerged Heracleion in a single night. But the most surprising clue comes from the ruins themselves. Divers have found entire neighborhoods tilted at unnatural angles, as if the land simply gave way, swallowing buildings whole while leaving others oddly intact. What makes Heracleion's story so compelling isn't just its dramatic end, but the vibrant world it reveals. This wasn't just a trade hub, it was a cultural melting pot. Among the ruins, archaeologists uncovered a gold plaque declaring the city's Greek name, Heracleion, alongside Egyptian hieroglyphs calling it Thonis, proof of its dual identity. Statues of Cleopatra's ancestors stand near altars to the Greek god Serapis, while amulets from as far away as Babylon hint at a cosmopolitan society. Even the cargo tells a story: sacks of peppercorns from India, ivory from sub-Saharan Africa, and Athenian pottery stacked as if waiting for tomorrow's market. The most haunting find, a temple to Amun-Jereb, the supreme god of Egyptian sailors, its walls still adorned with nautical scenes. Here, priests once prayed for safe voyages, unaware their own city would soon become a cautionary tale of the sea's power. Today, as rising global temperatures threaten coastal cities worldwide, Heracleion feels eerily relevant, a reminder that even the greatest civilizations are no match for nature's whims. Yet there's hope in its rediscovery. Every artifact pulled from the murky depths is a testament to resilience, a message in a bottle from the past urging us to remember what was lost and to learn from its fate. Beneath the choppy waters of the English Channel, where ferries now crisscross between Britain and France, lies a lost world that once teemed with life. 12,000 years ago, this wasn't water at all. It was a sweeping plain of grassy valleys, dense forests, and winding rivers known as Doggerland. Stretching from the Netherlands to the east coast of England, this fertile land bridge was home to some of Europe's earliest hunter-gatherers, people who tracked mammoth herds and fished in freshwater lakes. But as the last ice age waned, melting glaciers sent sea levels rising at a rate that would have been terrifying to witness, sometimes as much as 6 feet per century. Inch by inch, the ocean reclaimed the land, swallowing villages, sacred sites, and migration routes until all that remained were scattered islands, and then, finally, open water. What's astonishing is how much evidence of this drowned world still surfaces today. Fishermen trawling the channel's seabed have hauled up more than just fish. Their nets bring in flint tools, carved bone ornaments, and even the occasional mammoth tooth. One remarkable find was a 20,000-year-old harpoon point, its sharp edge still intact, lying beside the bones of an aurochs, an extinct giant cattle. Then there's the Doggerland mace, a polished stone weapon discovered near the Netherlands, proof that these weren't just transient camps but places where people lived, fought, and created. The most haunting discoveries, though, are the human remains, skulls, and fragments of bone that hint at lives cut short by the encroaching tides. Scientists have pieced together Doggerland's geography using sonar and sediment cores, revealing submerged riverbeds that match ancient shorelines. One such river, nicknamed the Channel River, was once a mighty waterway fed by tributaries from across northern Europe. Along its banks, archaeologists believe, communities gathered to trade and hunt, unaware that their world was vanishing beneath them. The final blow may have come around 6,200 BCE, when a catastrophic landslide off Norway triggered a tsunami, a wall of water that would have devastated the last remaining settlements. But here's the twist. Some researchers think a few survivors clung to the shrinking coastlines. Their stories passed down through generations until they became the flood myths found in cultures worldwide, from Noah's Ark to the tales of Atlantis. What makes Doggerland so compelling isn't just the tragedy of its loss, but what it tells us about human resilience. These were people who adapted to a changing planet, retreating to higher ground, building boats to navigate the rising waters, and carrying their knowledge to new lands. Their legacy lives on in the DNA of modern Europeans, as well as in the flint tools and carved amber that still wash ashore after storms. Every artifact is a message in a bottle from a time when Britain wasn't an island, but part of a vast, interconnected continent. As climate change accelerates sea level rise today, Doggerland's story feels less like ancient history and more like a poignant reminder. A glimpse of what happens when the land we take for granted suddenly slips away, leaving only whispers beneath the waves. In the deep blue waters off Cuba's western coast, sonar pulses have painted a picture that defies easy explanation. A series of massive, geometric structures resting on the ocean floor, their perfect angles and symmetrical layouts seeming anything but random. Discovered in 2001 by a team mapping the seabed, these formations stretch across an area larger than a modern city, with some buildings reaching heights comparable to a 10-story tower. The most striking feature, what appear to be wide avenues and even a possible plaza, all lying under nearly 2,000 feet of water. If these were indeed built by human hands, they'd predate the pyramids of Egypt by thousands of years, hinting at a civilization advanced enough to engineer such marvels before history even began recording its achievements. Yet the debate over their origin is as deep as the waters that hide them. Geologists point to the area's history of tectonic shifts, suggesting the structures could be rare examples of megabrexia, huge blocks of rock fractured and rearranged by ancient earthquakes into deceptively orderly patterns. Others argue the formations bear uncanny resemblances to known archaeological sites. The edges are sharp, the angles precise, and the layout mirrors the radial design seen in ancient ceremonial centers like Cambodia's Angkor Wat. Adding fuel to the fire are anomalous artifacts reportedly found nearby, smooth stone spheres and carvings that resemble glyphs, though critics counter that these could be natural concretions or later debris sunk from ships. Local legends weave their own threads into the mystery. The indigenous Taino people who inhabited Cuba before European contact spoke of a cataclysmic flood that swallowed their ancestral homelands. Some researchers draw parallels to Plato's Atlantis, suggesting the Caribbean might hold remnants of that fabled civilization. More grounded theories propose these could be relics of a pre-Taino culture, one that thrived when sea levels were hundreds of feet lower during the last ice age. Around 12,000 years ago, melting glaciers would have inundated coastal settlements worldwide, potentially burying evidence of early urban development beneath rising tides. Modern technology hasn't yet solved the puzzle. The extreme depth makes traditional diving impossible, leaving remote-operated vehicles and sonar as the only tools to study the site. Initial scans hint at even larger structures obscured by sediment, but funding and political hurdles have stalled further exploration. What's undeniable is the emotional pull of the discovery. Whether a fluke of geology or a lost chapter of human history, these sunken shapes force us to reconsider how much we really know about our planet's past. The ocean, after all, is Earth's last great frontier, and it's entirely possible that civilizations rose, thrived, and vanished long before we thought such things possible, leaving only enigmatic stones in the dark to whisper their stories. Off the coast of Wales, where the Irish Sea churns against the shores of Cardigan Bay, an ancient legend lingers in the salty air, the story of Kantre Gualod, a kingdom so rich and fertile it was said to rival the gardens of myth. According to Welsh folklore, this low-lying land was protected by a series of dikes and sluice gates, holding back the relentless sea. But one fateful night, a drunken gatekeeper named Sethanin neglected his duty, leaving the floodgates open as a storm surged. By dawn, the kingdom had vanished beneath the waves, its bells still said to toll mournfully beneath the water on quiet days. For centuries, this tale was dismissed as poetic allegory, a cautionary fable about human negligence. Then the tides began revealing secrets. At low tide along the bay, stumps of ancient oak and hazel emerged from the sand, their gnarled roots still gripping the earth as if refusing to surrender. These aren't just scattered trees, they form the remnants of a vast forest, one that carbon dating confirms flourished over 5,000 years ago. Even more compelling are the human footprints preserved in the peat, alongside tools and fire pits, proof that this drowned woodland was once alive with activity. Geological surveys have mapped what appears to be a submerged landscape of fields and riverbeds, echoing the descriptions of Kantre Gualod's 16 cities mentioned in medieval texts. But how much of the legend is rooted in truth? Scientists point to a phenomenon called relative sea level rise. As glaciers melted at the end of the last ice age, the landmass of Britain, once compressed by the weight of ice, began to rebound except in the west where the crust tilted, causing Wales' coastline to sink. Combined with rising ocean levels, this created a slow-motion disaster, swallowing coastal settlements over generations. Folklore may have condensed this gradual tragedy into a single dramatic event, personifying the disaster through Sethanin's fatal mistake. Yet there's another twist. Sediment cores reveal evidence of a catastrophic tsunami around the same time, possibly triggered by an underwater landslide off Norway. Could the legend preserve a collective memory of this double calamity, both the creeping sea and a sudden, devastating wave? The story's endurance speaks to its power. In Welsh culture, Kantre Gualod isn't just a lost land, it's a symbol of resilience. The kingdom's mythical bells heard in the waves are a reminder that the past is never truly silenced. Modern technology adds weight to the mystery. Sonar scans have detected unnatural-looking ridges and mounds offshore, some aligned like walls or barriers, though erosion makes definitive conclusions elusive. Meanwhile, local fishermen still avoid certain areas, whispering of ghostly lights beneath the surface, a superstition that feels eerily poignant in an age of climate change, where rising seas threaten coastal communities anew. Whether Kantre Gualod was a real place or a metaphor for humanity's fragile relationship with nature, its legacy is undeniable. The submerged forests of Cardigan Bay are more than relics. They're a bridge between geology and storytelling where science and myth converge. Every receding tide offers a glimpse of a world that once was, inviting us to listen not just for phantom bells, but for the echoes of lessons we've yet to fully learn. Beneath the crystal-clear waters of southern Greece, near the rugged coast of the Peloponnese, lies a time capsule of urban life older than the pyramids, the sunken city of Pavloptery. Discovered in 1967 by a British archaeologist snorkeling in the shallows, this 5,000-year-old settlement isn't just the oldest submerged city ever found. It's a hauntingly preserved blueprint of Bronze Age civilization. Walk along the seabed here, and you'll trace streets laid out in a grid, their cobblestones still visible beneath a thin veil of sand. Peer into the ruins of homes, and you'll find pottery fragments and stone tools left exactly where their owners last placed them. Even the city's graves remain, their skeletal occupants silently guarding secrets millennia after the sea claimed them. What makes Pavloptery extraordinary isn't just its age, but its startling completeness. Unlike other ancient sites rebuilt over centuries, this city sank before later civilizations could obscure its original layout. Archaeologists have mapped an entire urban plan, residential quarters, marketplaces, even a sophisticated drainage system, all frozen in time. The buildings follow a design shockingly modern for their era, with multi-room structures and courtyards that suggest a society valuing both privacy and community. One particularly striking feature is a large, rectangular plaza, possibly a communal gathering space or trading hub, its edges lined with what appear to be workshops. Here, artisans might have crafted the intricate seal stones and ceramics now scattered across the seafloor. But why did Pavloptery sink? The leading theory points to a 1-2 punch of natural disasters. Geological surveys reveal evidence of repeated earthquakes in the region, which could have destabilized the land. Around 1000 BCE, rising sea levels driven by the end of the last ice age finished the job, submerging the city over decades rather than centuries. Yet there's no sign of panic in the ruins, no skeletons trapped in doorways, no valuables hastily abandoned. This suggests a gradual exodus, with residents carefully relocating as the waters crept higher. The real mystery isn't how Pavloptery fell, but how its people adapted, carrying their knowledge to new settlements inland. The city's layout offers another revelation. This was a society deeply connected to the sea. Anchors found near the shoreline hint at a bustling harbor, while the remains of a possible shipbuilding yard suggest maritime trade was central to Pavloptery's identity. Chemical analysis of pottery confirms links to distant cultures, including Minoan Crete and possibly even Egypt. This wasn't an isolated village, it was a cosmopolitan hub, a node in a vast Bronze Age network of exchange. Today, Pavloptery is more than an archaeological wonder, it's a warning. As climate change accelerates sea level rise, the city's fate feels unnervingly relevant. But there's hope in its rediscovery. Every artifact lifted from the seabed, a child's toy, a merchant's weights, a cook's grinding stone, humanizes a civilization that thrived long before written history. These objects whisper a truth we're only beginning to grasp, that the past isn't just a series of dates and disasters, but a tapestry of lives as vivid and complex as our own. And somewhere beneath the waves, Pavloptery's silent streets still have stories left to tell. Stretching across what is now the North Sea, Doggerland was once a vast, fertile paradise, a bridge between modern-day Britain and continental Europe. Imagine rolling hills dense with oak and hazel forests, rivers teeming with fish, and grasslands where herds of red deer and wild boar roamed freely. This was no barren wasteland, but a thriving heartland for Mesolithic hunter-gatherers, a place where families followed seasonal migrations, setting up temporary camps and leaving behind traces of their lives in flint tools and fire pits. Then, around 6,500 BC, the unthinkable happened. As glaciers melted and sea levels rose, the waters crept inland, swallowing valleys, forests, and hunting grounds in what must have felt like a slow-motion catastrophe. Within centuries, an entire world vanished beneath the waves, leaving only scattered artifacts and a haunting question: what became of the people who called this land home? The evidence of Doggerland's vibrant past is surprisingly tangible. Fishermen trawling the North Sea have hauled up more than just fish their nets bring in fragments of a lost world. Flint arrowheads, finely crafted bone harpoons, and even the occasional mammoth tusk emerge from the depths, as if the sea itself is reluctant to let go of its secrets. One of the most poignant discoveries is a small, carved amber pendant, its surface worn smooth by millennia underwater. This delicate object, likely worn as a necklace, offers a glimpse into the personal lives of Doggerland's inhabitants, people who valued beauty and symbolism, not just survival. Then there are the animal remains, bones of aurochs, giant wild cattle, bearing cut marks from stone tools, proof that these hunter-gatherers were skilled butchers, making the most of every hunt. But how did these communities respond as their homeland disappeared? Archaeologists believe they didn't simply vanish. Instead, they retreated first to higher ground, then to the coastlines of what would become Britain, Denmark, and the Netherlands. Recent genetic studies reveal fascinating clues. Modern populations in these regions share DNA markers with Mesolithic groups, suggesting Doggerland's people integrated into new societies, bringing their knowledge and traditions with them. Some may have taken to the water earlier than we thought. The discovery of paddles and dug-out canoe fragments in nearby areas hints at a maritime adaptation, with families using boats to navigate the shrinking landscape, perhaps even establishing seasonal fishing camps on remaining islands. The final chapter of Doggerland's drowning may have been written by disaster. Sediment cores from the North Sea floor tell of a cataclysmic event around 6,200 BC, a massive underwater landslide off Norway's coast that triggered a tsunami. Waves as tall as 3-story buildings would have crashed onto Doggerland's remaining low-lying areas, obliterating any lingering settlements. This catastrophe might explain why flood myths appear in cultures worldwide, from Noah's Ark to the Aboriginal Dreamtime stories of Australia. Could these tales be distant echoes of the trauma experienced by Doggerland's survivors, passed down through generations? Today, Doggerland's legacy resurfaces in unexpected ways. Wind farms erected in the North Sea occasionally dredge up prehistoric peat and tree stumps, while researchers use advanced sonar to map the drowned rivers and valleys below. One such project revealed a sprawling ancient river system nicknamed the Channel River, its banks likely dotted with temporary campsites. Meanwhile, artists and storytellers reimagine this lost landscape, painting vivid pictures of a world where modern borders didn't exist and humanity lived in rhythm with the land. Doggerland's story isn't just about the past, it's a mirror reflecting our own era of climate change, where rising seas once again threaten coastal communities. The difference is, this time, we're here to witness it and perhaps to learn from those who faced it before us. Beneath the sparkling waves of Italy's Bay of Naples, where sunlight dances on ancient marble, lies a city that once defined Cambay, the playground of Rome's elite. While Pompeii met its end in fire and ash, Baiae suffered a slower, stranger fate, its grand villas and bathhouses gradually slipping beneath the sea as if the earth itself grew weary of their decadence. Today, divers glide through its underwater streets, where statues of gods and emperors still stand guard over mosaic floors, their colors shockingly vivid after 2,000 years. This isn't just a ruin, it's a snapshot of Roman indulgence frozen in time, a place where the line between legend and history blurs as fluidly as the tides. Baiae's rise was as dramatic as its fall. By the 1st century BCE, this coastal resort had become synonymous with luxury, attracting senators, poets, and even emperors eager to escape Rome's rigid morals. Cicero wrote letters lamenting its corruption, while Nero and Caligula allegedly hosted orgies in villas perched over the water. The city's thermal springs, believed to have healing powers, drew visitors seeking cures or excuses for indulgence. But Baiae's true allure was its sense of lawlessness. Here, away from the Senate's scrutiny, Rome's powerful could indulge in every whim, from elaborate feasts to whispered political schemes. The poet Sextus Propertius called it a den of vice, a place where the very air intoxicates. Yet the same forces that made Baiae desirable also sealed its doom. The region sits atop the Campi Flegrae, a vast volcanic caldera far more dangerous than nearby Vesuvius. Throughout antiquity, the ground hissed with sulfurous fumes, while underground magma chambers caused the coastline to rise and fall unpredictably, a phenomenon called bradysism. By the 3rd century AD, the land began sinking in earnest, swallowing Baiae's waterfront palaces inch by inch. Earthquakes toppled columns and seawater seeped into once lavish gardens. But the final blow wasn't nature's alone. As Rome's empire crumbled, Baiae's wealthy patrons fled, leaving the city vulnerable to pirate raids and neglect. By the 8th century, what remained above water was picked clean for building materials, its reputation fading into myth. Diving into Baiae today feels like entering a surreal dream. The most striking ruin is the Nymphaeum of Punta Epitaphio, a sunken banquet hall where Emperor Claudius once hosted parties. Its statues, including a hauntingly lifelike marble Odysseus offering wine to the Cyclops Polyphemus, still stand where they fell, now encrusted with barnacles. Nearby, the Villa Protiro boasts intact black and white mosaics of sea creatures, their intricate patterns proof that even in decadence, Baiae's artisans achieved brilliance. But the eeriest sight is the Pisonian Villa, linked to a failed plot to assassinate Nero. Its collapsed walls reveal hidden tunnels, perhaps escape routes for conspirators, now home to curious octopuses weaving through the shadows. What makes Baiae's story so compelling isn't just its physical remains, but the questions they provoke. Was this city truly as wicked as historians claimed, or was its reputation exaggerated by moralists uncomfortable with its freedoms? The ruins suggest a more nuanced truth. Alongside grandiose villas, archaeologists have uncovered humble workshops and docks, reminders that Baiae was also a working town where fishermen and artisans supported the elite's excesses. Even its sinking wasn't purely tragic. The same mineral-rich waters that destroyed Baiae preserved it, shielding mosaics from erosion and statues from looters. In a twist of irony, the volcanic forces that doomed the city became its unlikely protectors. As climate change threatens coastal cities worldwide, Baiae takes on new resonance. Its ruins remind us that human hubris often underestimates nature's power, but also that disaster can create unexpected time capsules. Every summer, when currents shift just right, the bay's silt clears to reveal another glimpse of the past, a marble hand still clutching a goblet, a faded fresco of a reveler mid-toast. These fragments whisper that Baiae never truly died. It simply traded sunlight for moonlight, its parties replaced by the slow dance of fish through its once grand halls. In the murky depths of India's Gulf of Cambay, a discovery surfaced in 2001 that sent shockwaves through the archaeological world. A sprawling network of geometric shapes detected by sonar, stretching across nearly 5 miles of seabed. The scans revealed what appeared to be massive stone structures, some with steps and corridors, lying 120 feet beneath the waves. But the real astonishment came when dredging brought up artifacts, pottery shards with intricate carvings, wooden fragments carbon dated to an astonishing 9,500 years old, and even human bones, their DNA hinting at a lineage predating known ancient Indian civilizations. If these ruins are indeed man-made, they could rewrite history, suggesting an advanced society thrived here millennia before the pyramids of Egypt or the cities of Mesopotamia. The implications are staggering. Conventional timelines place the rise of complex urban societies around 4000 BCE, with India's Harappan civilization emerging 2000 years later. But the Gulf of Cambay structures, if verified, would push that back by over 5,000 years. Some researchers speculate this could be the legendary city of Dwarka's even older predecessor, a hub of trade and technology lost to rising seas at the end of the last ice age. The pottery styles, distinct from Harappan designs, suggest a unique cultural fingerprint, while the layout with what seem to be reservoirs and granaries hints at a society capable of large-scale planning. One recovered artifact, a carved stone seal depicting an unknown script, has linguists baffled. Could this be the writing system of a civilization so ancient we've forgotten its name? Yet skepticism lingers like the Gulf's silt-heavy currents. Geologists argue the structures could be natural formations shaped by underwater landslides or ancient river channels. The region sits in a seismically active zone where tectonic shifts regularly rearrange the seabed. Even the dating methods face scrutiny. Some argue saltwater contamination could skew carbon results. But the most compelling counterpoint comes from marine archaeologists, who note the lack of definitive proof, no intact walls, no clear foundations. The Gulf's fierce tides and poor visibility make excavation a nightmare, leaving much of the evidence open to interpretation. What tilts the scales toward intrigue are the local legends. Coastal communities have long spoken of Kumari Kandam, a mythical continent swallowed by the Indian Ocean, home to an enlightened people. Tamil texts describe a landmass connecting India to Madagascar, lost in a cataclysmic flood. While scientists dismiss this as folklore, the parallels are uncanny. Modern sea level maps confirm that 12,000 years ago, the Gulf of Cambay was dry land, a fertile delta where rivers met the sea. If humans built here, they would have witnessed the ocean's relentless advance, their homes vanishing inch by inch over generations. The debate may hinge on future technology. Advanced submersibles and 3D mapping could finally reveal whether these shapes are the work of nature or human hands. For now, the Gulf of Cambay remains a tantalizing enigma, a reminder that Earth's oceans guard secrets that could upend our understanding of human ingenuity. Whether the ruins prove real or not, they've already accomplished something remarkable. They've forced us to question how much we truly know about the dawn of civilization, and how many other forgotten worlds might lie hidden beneath the waves. High in the Andes, where the air is thin and the sky feels close enough to touch, Lake Titicaca stretches across the border of Bolivia and Peru like a vast mirror reflecting the clouds. But beneath its shimmering surface lies a secret one that local Aymara people have whispered about for generations. They speak of a sacred city called Wanaku, a place of gold and gods swallowed by the lake in a time beyond memory. For centuries, these stories were dismissed as myths until divers began bringing up tangible proof from the depths: stone walls, ceremonial plazas, even a mysterious golden llama figurine, its delicate features still sharp despite centuries underwater. These aren't random fragments, they're pieces of a puzzle pointing to the Tiwanaku culture, a civilization that thrived here over 1,500 years ago, long before the Inca rose to power. What makes these submerged ruins so extraordinary is their location. At 12,500 feet above sea level, Lake Titicaca is an unlikely setting for an underwater archaeological site. Yet sonar scans reveal what appear to be massive stone structures, some resembling temples, others forming a sprawling road that vanishes into the murk. The most intriguing discovery, a series of carved stone blocks arranged in a semicircle, eerily similar to the famous Sun Gate at the nearby Tiwanaku ruins on land. This underwater counterpart suggests the lake wasn't just a backdrop for the Tiwanaku people, it was central to their spiritual world. Local legends describe the lake as the birthplace of the sun, where the creator god Viracocha emerged to bring light to the world. Offerings found in the shallows, gold foil, incense burners, and sacrificed llamas hint at rituals meant to honor these divine origins. But how did these sacred sites end up underwater? Geology offers a compelling explanation. Lake Titicaca has a dramatic history of fluctuating water levels. Sediment cores show that around 500 AD, during the height of Tiwanaku influence, prolonged droughts may have caused the lake to shrink dramatically, exposing new land where temples and roads could be built. Then, centuries later, climate shifts or tectonic activity could have reversed the trend, sending waters rushing back to reclaim the shores. Imagine the awe or terror of Tiwanaku descendants watching their ancestors' holy places slowly disappear beneath the rising waves, transforming into the stuff of legend. The most tantalizing question isn't just how these ruins sank, but why they were built so close to the water's edge in the first place. One theory ties the lake's spiritual significance to its unique ecology. Titicaca is home to giant frogs whose songs were considered sacred, and its reeds were used to build everything from houses to the famous Uro's floating islands. For the Tiwanaku, the lake may have symbolized the boundary between worlds, the surface reflecting the heavens, the depths holding secrets of the underworld. Recent dives near Isla del Sol, the lake's legendary birthplace of the Inca sun god, uncovered a coral-encrusted stone box containing a miniature llama made of spondylus shell, a material traded from distant coastal tribes. This wasn't just art, it was a carefully placed offering, a bridge between earth and water, past and present. Today, Lake Titicaca's mysteries are still emerging. In 2020, archaeologists using submersibles discovered a submerged wall stretching nearly half a mile. Its stones fitted together with the same precision as Tiwanaku's dry land monuments. Local fishermen, meanwhile, report catching glimpses of shadowy outlines on particularly clear days, structures that vanish before they can be documented. Whether these are the remnants of Wanaku or another undiscovered ceremonial complex, one thing is certain: the lake isn't done revealing its secrets. As technology improves, each dive peels back another layer of time, showing us a civilization that saw water not as a barrier but as a sacred threshold, one we're only beginning to cross. The storm came at night, a tempest so fierce it shattered the coastline of medieval Europe. When dawn broke on January 16, 1362, an entire city had vanished. Rungholt, the wealthiest trading port of the Frisian coast, was simply gone, swallowed by the North Sea in what survivors called the Great Drowning. For centuries, its fate lived on in whispers, a cautionary tale of divine punishment against a city so proud its bells rang just to mock the heavens. But today, scientists and archaeologists see a different story written in the tides and mudflats of Germany's Wadden Sea. This wasn't just divine wrath, it was a collision of human ambition and nature's relentless power. Rungholt's wealth was legendary. Records describe a bustling harbor where merchants traded salt, wool, and amber, their ships dwarfed by a massive dike system, a marvel of medieval engineering. But prosperity bred complacency. As the city expanded, its protective dikes were neglected, while the draining of peatlands for farmland actually made the land sink faster. Then came the perfect storm, a combination of spring tides and a North Sea cyclone that sent walls of water crashing over weakened barriers. The destruction was apocalyptic. Contemporary accounts speak of waves high as church towers and entire families clinging to rooftops before being swept away. Over 6,000 people perished in a single night, their homes and history erased beneath the waves. Yet Rungholt refused to fade into myth. In the 19th century, low tides began revealing eerie traces, the outlines of foundations, wooden pilings, and even a well-preserved bronze cauldron. Recent technology has unveiled even more. LiDAR scans from aircraft detected a grid-like pattern beneath the mudflats, matching descriptions of Rungholt's orderly streets. Magnetometers picked up anomalies suggesting a church's iron bell, perhaps the very one blamed for provoking God's anger. Most haunting are the ghost fields, patches of farmland still visible from the air when sunlight hits the shallow water just right, their furrows preserved like fingerprints in the sand. The debate now isn't whether Rungholt existed, but how much of it survives. Marine archaeologists face a race against time and tide. The Wadden Sea's shifting sands constantly rebury artifacts, while rising sea levels threaten to drown the site permanently. One breakthrough came in 2021 when researchers uncovered a 2-mile-long chain of medieval terps, man-made mounds that once elevated houses above the tides. These weren't just practical, they symbolized Rungholt's defiance of nature, a hubris that may have hastened its demise. Among the submerged ruins, divers found something poignant, a set of finely crafted dice left mid-game on a tavern table, as if the players expected to return. Local folklore insists the city isn't truly lost. Fishermen swear they've heard ghostly bells ringing beneath the waves on stormy nights, and legends claim Rungholt will rise again when its sins are forgiven. Science offers a less mystical but equally compelling vision. Core samples reveal layers of silt and sand, alternating with burnt debris, evidence of repeated disasters before the final blow. Rungholt's tragedy wasn't a single event, but a series of warnings ignored. Today, as climate change threatens coastal cities worldwide, its ruins serve as a stark reminder. The sea doesn't punish pride, it simply reclaims what we fail to protect. Every time the tide pulls back, it offers glimpses of a civilization that believed itself invincible until the water proved it wrong. Off the northeastern coast of Crete, where the Aegean Sea shimmers in shades of turquoise, the past lingers just beneath the waves. Here, the sunken ruins of Ollis rise like ghostly sentinels from the seabed, their stone walls so close to the surface that on calm days, swimmers can glide right over them. This was once a bustling port city, home to over 40,000 people at its peak, its streets alive with merchants trading olive oil, wine, and the prized purple dye extracted from sea snails. Today, all that remains are rows of submerged foundations, a lone column or two breaking the surface, and an eerie sense of a world frozen mid-collapse. Ollis didn't vanish overnight. Its downfall was a slow, relentless squeeze between two forces: earthquakes and rising seas. Crete sits atop a tectonic battleground where the African plate grinds against the Aegean microplate, triggering frequent tremors. Around the 2nd century AD, a series of violent quakes shattered Ollis's harbor walls and toppled its grandest buildings, but the real killer was subsidence. As the ground sank inch by inch, the Mediterranean crept inward, flooding basements, swallowing roads, and turning proud stone houses into fish-filled reefs. Archaeologists have found evidence of desperate attempts to adapt raised walkways, elevated storage areas, but the sea was unstoppable. By the 8th century, Ollis was little more than a memory, its name surviving only in scattered Byzantine texts. Yet the ruins tell a richer story than any parchment. Divers exploring the site have uncovered fragments of daily life frozen in time. A stone grinding wheel abandoned mid-rotation. A set of bronze scales, their weights still perfectly balanced. Most poignant are the clay tablets inscribed with curses ancient Greeks believed writing your enemy's name on lead and tossing it into water would bring them misfortune. Hundreds of these curse tablets have been recovered from Ollis's harbor, some still legible after centuries underwater. They reveal a society deeply superstitious, where rivalries and betrayals played out in whispers and rituals. What makes Ollis uniquely haunting is how accessible its tragedy feels. Unlike cities buried under layers of silt or volcanic ash, these ruins lie in shallow, crystal-clear water. Snorkelers can hover above the ancient agora, where citizens once debated politics, and peer into what was likely a tavern, its amphorae still stacked against a wall. Local fishermen have long known about the city under the sea, weaving tales of ghosts who rise on moonlit nights to reclaim their drowned homes. Modern science confirms their intuition. Sonar scans reveal that the visible ruins are just the outskirts. The heart of Ollis may lie farther out, preserved in deeper water where the seabed drops abruptly. The lesson of Ollis isn't just about geological inevitability, it's about human resilience. Before the city sank completely, its people didn't simply flee, they adapted. Archaeologists have traced their exodus to nearby hilltops, where new settlements sprouted with telltale Ollis-style architecture. These refugees carried their culture with them, trading maritime life for pastoralism, yet never forgetting their connection to the sea. Even today, Cretan folklore speaks of the old ones who remember when the waves were lower, a folk memory stretching back millennia. As climate change accelerates sea level rise worldwide, Ollis feels less like an ancient curiosity and more like a preview. Its ruins challenge us to ask, when the water comes for our own coastal cities, will we fight hopelessly against the tide, or will we do as the people of Ollis did, learn, adapt, and carry our stories to higher ground? The answer may lie in the silent stones beneath the Aegean, waiting for us to listen. The night the earth shook Helike off the map, witnesses swore the gods themselves had intervened. Ancient historians like Strabo and Pausanias wrote of fiery apparitions in the sky, of rats and snakes fleeing the city days before disaster struck, omens ignored by the doomed residents. When the earthquake hit in 373 BCE, it wasn't just the ground that betrayed them. The sea rushed in as the land collapsed, dragging homes, temples, and an entire populace into a churning whirlpool of mud and water. By morning, Helike was gone, leaving only a few scattered survivors to whisper of its fate. For centuries, the city's exact location remained a mystery, its story blending into legend, until a team of archaeologists in the 1980s noticed something peculiar about a stretch of coastline in the Gulf of Corinth. What they uncovered was stranger than fiction. Beneath layers of silt and marine deposits lay the unmistakable traces of a sophisticated Greek settlement, crushed pottery, bronze coins frozen mid-circulation, and the eerie remains of a stone road that simply ended, as if sliced off by a giant's hand. The most chilling discovery, human skeletons trapped in poses of flight, some still clutching precious belongings, their final moments preserved in the sediment that entombed them. Geological surveys revealed the horrifying truth. Helike hadn't just been hit by an earthquake. The ground beneath it had liquefied, swallowing structures whole before a tsunami swept away what remained. This wasn't divine punishment, it was a textbook case of subsidence, where unstable soil collapses under seismic stress, a phenomenon seen in modern disasters like Japan's 2011 catastrophe. But here's where the story takes a turn worthy of Plato. The parallels between Helike's demise and the Legend of Atlantis are impossible to ignore. Both were wealthy maritime powers that sank in a single night. Both were described as suffering divine retribution for arrogance. Even the timelines aligned suspiciously. Plato wrote of Atlantis around 360 BC, just 13 years after Helike vanished. Could survivors' accounts have reached Egypt, where Plato claimed to have heard the Atlantis tale, their trauma morphing into allegory? Some scholars argue Helike's ruins, submerged in a shallow lagoon for centuries, might have inspired sailors' tales of a sunken kingdom. Others point to a crucial difference. Unlike mythical Atlantis, Helike's tragedy is etched in the earth itself, its rubble bearing scars that match ancient descriptions down to the last detail. The real revelation came when divers explored offshore. Beneath the Gulf's placid surface, they found what looked like the ghostly imprint of a city, rectangular foundations, toppled columns, and even the outline of a possible temple, all encased in a shell of hardened sediment. Core samples told a story of repeated disasters, layers of tsunami debris sandwiched between normal soil, proof that Helike had been rebuilt after earlier quakes, only to face nature's wrath again. This wasn't a one-time catastrophe, but the climax of a volatile relationship between human ambition and geological reality. The region sits atop the Corinth Rift, where two tectonic plates grind against each other with relentless force. Helike's founders had gambled on the fertile plains and strategic harbor, ignoring the ground's whispers until it roared. Today, the ruins offer more than just historical insight, they're a warning. Modern engineers study Helike's fate to understand liquefaction risks in earthquake-prone cities like San Francisco and Istanbul. Meanwhile, the search for its full extent continues. Ground-penetrating radar has detected anomalies deeper inland, hinting at untouched neighborhoods still sealed in their watery tomb. Every artifact pulled from the muck, a child's toy, a merchant's scale, a wine jug still stoppered, adds nuance to the Atlantis comparison. Perhaps Plato's greatest lesson wasn't about a lost city at all, but about the fragility of civilizations that forget the ground beneath their feet. Helike's stones, once drowned in punishment, now speak of something far more humbling, the indifference of nature and the resilience of stories that outlast even the sea. Beneath the choppy surface of the Black Sea, where modern cargo ships now trace their routes, lies a lost world that once pulsed with life, a sprawling freshwater lake surrounded by fertile valleys and dense forests. 7,500 years ago, this wasn't water at all, but a thriving landscape where early farmers tilled the soil, fishermen cast their nets, and communities built their homes along gentle shores. Then catastrophe struck. As glaciers melted and global sea levels rose, the Mediterranean burst through the Bosporus straight in a cataclysmic deluge, transforming the tranquil lake into the vast, salty expanse we know today. The force of the water was unimaginable, a wall of rushing waves that may have advanced a mile per day, swallowing entire settlements in what must have felt like the end of the world. The evidence of this apocalyptic event lies buried in the Black Sea's depths. In the late 1990s, marine explorers Robert Ballard and Petko Dimitrov made a startling discovery. an ancient shoreline nearly 400 feet below the current waterline, complete with submerged riverbeds and drowned valleys. But the real shock came when their remotely operated vehicles captured images of human-made tools and wooden structures preserved in the oxygen-deprived depths. A stone axe here, a carved wooden post there, silent witnesses to a civilization caught off guard by nature's fury. Most haunting of all were the remnants of a wattle and daub house, its woven branches still intact after millennia underwater, as if the owners had just stepped away. Could this disaster be the seed of humanity's most enduring flood myths? The parallels are striking. The biblical story of Noah's Ark describes a deluge covering the earth for 40 days, a time frame that aligns eerily with geological estimates of the Black Sea's rapid filling. Similar flood narratives appear in Mesopotamian epics like Gilgamesh, where the gods send waters to cleanse the world. Even Greek mythology speaks of Deucalion's flood, a divine punishment that spared only one righteous man. These stories all share a common thread: a civilization unprepared for the waters that claimed them, and a handful of survivors who carried the trauma into legend. But the Black Sea's secrets aren't just about destruction, they're about resilience. Sediment cores reveal layers of charred wood and ash beneath the marine deposits, suggesting some communities saw the waters coming and fled to higher ground. Archaeologists have traced pottery styles from coastal villages up into the Balkans, a trail of cultural continuity left by displaced survivors, the most poignant clue. A cluster of Neolithic graves found inland, their bodies buried with shells from the old freshwater lake, mementos of a lost homeland carried into the afterlife. What makes this sunken world so compelling isn't just the scale of the disaster, but how it reshaped human history. The flood may have triggered mass migrations, pushing early farmers into Europe and kickstarting agricultural revolutions across the continent. The Black Sea's transformation also created a unique ecological time capsule. Its deep waters, devoid of oxygen, preserve organic material with uncanny precision. Shipwrecks from later eras rest on the seabed with masts still standing and ropes still coiled, their wood untouched by worms or decay. If the lake's Neolithic settlements are similarly preserved, they could rewrite our understanding of early civilization. Today, as rising seas threaten coastal cities worldwide, the Black Sea's ancient tragedy feels uncomfortably relevant. Its ruins remind us that climate change isn't a modern invention, it's a force that has shaped human destiny for millennia. The difference is, this time, we're not helpless witnesses. The same technology that uncovered this lost world, sonar mapping, carbon dating, genetic analysis, gives us the tools to prepare for what's coming. The submerged forests of the Black Sea aren't just relics of a forgotten past. They're a mirror reflecting our own fragile relationship with the planet and a challenge to learn from those who faced the flood before us. Beneath the emerald waters of China's Qingdao Lake, where sunlight filters through the depths like liquid gold, lies a secret the government once tried to erase: Shicheng, the Lion City, a masterpiece of Ming Dynasty architecture intentionally drowned to fuel progress. In 1959, when the Xinan River hydroelectric plant demanded a reservoir, engineers made a cold calculation: flooding this centuries-old treasure was worth the cost. The water rose, swallowing 599 years of history in one relentless tide. But the lake, as if reluctant to destroy such beauty, cradled the city instead. Today, divers slip beneath the surface to find a place where time stopped, ornate archways still standing, temple roofs adorned with intricate carvings of lions and phoenixes, even wooden beams so perfectly preserved you can see the grain of the wood. It's not a ruin, it's a snapshot of imperial China, frozen in 30 to 40 meters of crystal clear water. What makes Shicheng extraordinary isn't just its preservation, but the irony of its fate. Built during the Tang dynasty in 621 AD, the city reached its zenith under the Ming, becoming a hub of politics, trade, and art. Its name comes from the nearby Wuxi Mountain, or Five Lion Mountain, reflected in the stone guardians that still peer from the depths. The flooding was meant to silence the past, yet the water became an unlikely protector. Without oxygen or sunlight to fuel decay, the city's delicate details faded. Murals of scholars, inscriptions praising forgotten emperors, even the grooves of chariot wheels on stone streets survived with eerie clarity. In 2001, when divers rediscovered Shicheng, they found a labyrinth of 265 arches, pagodas with upturned eaves, and a central staircase so grand it feels like it should lead somewhere, not into the abyss. The real mystery isn't what we've found, but what might still be hidden. China alone has over 98,000 dams, many built during the same era of rapid industrialization. Could other drowned cities lie forgotten beneath their reservoirs? In the rush to modernize, countless cultural sites were sacrificed, their stories submerged beneath megaprojects. Some, like the ancient town of Fuchenjiang, vanished with barely a record. Others might still be intact, waiting for technology to reveal them. Shicheng's rediscovery has sparked a global conversation about the trade-offs between progress and preservation, a debate that echoes today as climate change forces hard choices about coastal heritage. Diving into Shicheng feels like trespassing in a dream. Schools of fish dart through former market squares, their scales glinting against stone reliefs of dragons. The silence is profound, broken only by the hum of divers' regulators. Yet the city isn't dead. Local guides speak of it with reverence, calling it the Atlantis of the East, while historians pore over its structures for clues to Ming craftsmanship. The most haunting sight, a monumental archway inscribed with a proverb, "The world changes, but the mountains and rivers remain." It's a message that resonates differently underwater, where the river, once the city's lifeblood, became its shroud. Shicheng's legacy is a paradox, a place destroyed yet saved, forgotten yet immortalized. As underwater tourism grows, the city faces new threats, accidental damage, pollution, even the bubbles from divers' gear that can erode delicate surfaces. Conservationists now race to document every carving, every pillar, before time or human interference steals them away. But perhaps the greatest lesson lies in the water itself. The same force that erased Shicheng also preserved it, a reminder that loss and survival are sometimes two sides of the same coin. And somewhere beneath the world's man-made lakes, other cities might wait, their stories sealed in the quiet dark until the day we're ready to listen. From the sunken spires of Atlantis to the submerged arches of Shicheng, these 20 lost landscapes are more than just ruins, they're cautionary tales written in stone and water. Each one whispers the same truth: no civilization, no matter how grand, is immune to the forces of nature. Whether drowned by rising seas, buried under volcanic ash, or deliberately sacrificed to progress, their stories blur the line between human ambition and the planet's relentless power. But here's the twist: these aren't just endings. Every collapsed column and silt-covered street is also a beginning, a puzzle begging to be solved. Archaeologists aren't just uncovering artifacts, they're reassembling the dreams and daily lives of people who once stood where we stand now, equally convinced of their permanence. What makes these places so haunting isn't just their disappearance, but how eerily familiar their downfalls feel. The merchants of Heracleion never imagined their bustling port could sink into the Mediterranean. The farmers of Doggerland couldn't fathom their fertile plains vanishing beneath the North Sea. Yet today, coastal cities worldwide face the same rising tides, the same shaky ground. The difference: we have the tools to read the warning signs, if we choose to look. Technologies like LiDAR and underwater drones are revealing these ancient tragedies in unprecedented detail, offering blueprints of past collapses that could guide our future. But there's hope in the ruins. The very water that erased these cities often preserved them, turning disaster into accidental archaeology. Pavloptery's 5,000-year-old streets still trace the rhythms of Bronze Age life. Rungholt's tavern dice lie frozen mid-roll, a snapshot of medieval leisure. Even Shicheng, drowned by modern ambition, survived with its carvings intact, as if the lake refused to let beauty die. These places challenge us to rethink what lost really means. A city isn't gone just because it's underwater, it's waiting. Its story paused until someone cares enough to listen. So which of these sunken worlds speaks to you? Is it Dwarka, where faith and archaeology intertwine beneath the Arabian Sea? Or perhaps Doggerland, whose mammoth hunters watch their homeland dissolve inch by inch? Dive into the comments and share the mystery that captivates you most. And if you're craving more, check the description for sources to explore further. Don't forget to like and subscribe. History's greatest secrets are still out there, hidden in plain sight. The next time you walk a shoreline or cross a bridge, remember, the ground beneath your feet has stories to tell. All we have to do is dig a little deeper.